and welcome to Lesson Design for Six Sigma DFSS Methodologies of the Lean Six Sigma Green Belt Certification course Learn. This lesson covers the concept of DFSS and its benefits, and the methodologies used to improve the quality management process in an organization. In this lesson, you will learn about the roadmap for DFSS and the tools that are used to improve the products, services, or processes in an organization. Before we begin, let's look at a scenario. A hospital wants to develop a new recruiting process for nurses. With an average of 60 days to fill a vacant position and a planned 5% increase of nurses to meet a growing market, there is a need to completely redesign the recruiting process. What improvement methodology can be used? The DMAIC or DFSS? Let's find out. The DMAIC process works well to improve one or two elements of an existing process,
but to overhaul an entire process requires a different approach.
The DFSS, or we call it the Design for Six Sigma. As you will learn, the DFSS is used because it focuses on improving the entire process. In the topic Roadmap for Design for Six Sigma, you will learn about concept of Design for Six Sigma, impact of Design for Six Sigma on an organization, the Design for Six Sigma and DMAIC methodologies, types of Design for Six Sigma methodologies, and Design for Six Sigma and DMAIC.
Design for Six Sigma, or DFSS, is an approach that ensures a new product or service meets customer requirements. It is a process at the Six Sigma level that uses tools such as quality function deployment, or QFD, and failure modes and effects analysis, or the FMEA.
Design for Six Sigma is used to help a business system introduce an entirely new product, service, or process for the customer. It can also be used to introduce a new category of product or service for the business system. For example, a technical company that used to manufacture computers enters the cell phone market. Design for Six Sigma also improves an existing product or service. To implement Design for Six Sigma, a business system needs to know its customers' requirements. For example, a telephone company that manufactures mobile phones with multi-tap keyboards could move on to manufacturing smartphones. Lastly, Design for Six Sigma is used to add to existing products, services, or process lines. For example, a manufacturer of smartphones can diversify into manufacturing phone accessories. It is important to know that Design for Six Sigma is not only applied to products and services, but processes too. Almost every organization will define Design for Six Sigma differently. This is because, unlike the DMAIC methodology, the steps of DFSS are not universally recognized or defined. There are two popular designs for DFSS methodologies, DMADV and IDOV. DMADV is an acronym for Define, Measure, Analyze, Design, and Verify. This methodology is used for an existing product or service. IDOV is an acronym for Identify, Design, Optimize, and Verify. This methodology is used for new products or services. Let's take a closer look at each methodology. Let's begin with DMADV. As mentioned earlier, in the acronym DMADV, D is for Define. Customer requirements and goals for the process, product, or services are defined. M is for Measure. The performance is measured and matched to the customer requirements or benchmark. A is for Analyze. Design options are analyzed and assessed for the process, product, or service to check if they meet customer needs. D is for Design and implementation of new processes. V is for Verify. Results that meet customer needs are verified to maintain performance. In IDOV, the I is for Identify. Here, the customer needs and specifications are identified to design the product or service. Next, D is for Design. Design alternative solutions by identifying functional requirements, selecting the best fit, and predicting Sigma capabilities. Basically, in the design step, we determine the best solution. O is for Optimize. Optimize by calculating tolerance using statistical tools and modeling to predict performance. The V is for Verify. Verify the design by testing, validating, and checking conformance to Six Sigma standards. Next, we will compare DFSS approaches to DMAIC approaches. There are a few differences between DFSS and DMAIC approaches, but because both fall under the Six Sigma umbrella, there are also similarities between them. Let's look at the similarities first. Both methodologies share a few tools. Both these methodologies strive for Six Sigma levels of performance. Both are based on the Six Sigma philosophy. Now, the differences between DMAIC and DFSS. DMAIC is different from DFSS because DMAIC improves an existing process, while DFSS improves an existing process and also ensures a new product or service meets customer requirements. DMAIC focuses on one or two customer requirements, while DFSS focuses on all customer needs. Benchmarking is crucial for design for Six Sigma projects, but it is not so for DMAIC. In this course, we will focus on the DMAIC process because a majority of the project scope for Greenbelt will fit into the model. And also, the body of knowledge, BOK, is focused on DMAIC. In the next topic, we will learn about the tools used for DFSS type projects. In the topic Goals in Six Sigma Projects, we will address common tools used for design for Six Sigma projects. There are many tools, but we will only discuss two in this Greenbelt course, QFD and FMEA. Following are the points we will talk about: DFSS tools, quality function deployment, QFD House of Quality, the HOQ structure, failure modes and effects analysis, or the FMEA, FMEA risk priority number, or the RPN, RPN and scale criteria for severity, occurrence, and detection, look at a FMEA table, types of FMEA, applying the FMEA in a situation, and lastly, a few tips and tricks. In the previous section, two DFSS tools were mentioned: Quality Function Deployment, or QFD, and Failure Modes and Effects Analysis, or FMEA. Let's begin by learning about the QFD. QFD is a focused methodology for carefully listening to the customer's needs, or voice of the customer, and then effectively responding to those needs or expectations. It helps create operational definitions of the requirements, which may be vague when first expressed. It prioritizes each product or service characteristic while simultaneously setting development targets for the product or service. This is the structure of QFD's House of Quality structure, or HOQ. The HOQ is the initial matrix in the QFD methodology. The HOQ comprises of customer requirements, planning matrix, technical requirements, interrelationship matrix, roof, and finally targets. The purpose of QFD is to translate customer requirements into characteristics that describe the business. Let's see how the structure of the QFD impacts an organization. As you can see, there are 6 sections in the House of Quality matrix.
Customer requirements list the customer's needs.
The planning matrix compares our performance requirements to that of our competitors. Technical requirements list the business or organizational characteristics that we influence. Interrelationship matrix identifies the impact of each organizational characteristic on each customer requirement. The roof depicts the correlation among the organizational characteristics, and the target section identifies the target for each organizational characteristic and the relative importance. Since the QFD is a tool that can be used in the DMAIC process as well, we will learn more about this tool in the define phase of this course. The next methodology or tool used by DFSS is the Failure Modes and Effects Analysis, or FMEA. FMEA is an approach for identifying all possible failures in a design, process, product, or service. This tool is used in DFSS projects as well as DMAIC projects. FMEA helps to identify ways in which failures may occur and its impact or consequences if it does fail. It also helps prioritize the failures to see the critical areas. When you think of a FMEA, think of a risk assessment tool. The end goal of the FMEA is to take actions that eliminate potential or real failures, starting with the critical areas. How are these failures prioritized? Next, we will learn the process for prioritization of failures. The FMEA Risk Priority Number, or RPN, is a measure used to quantify or assess the risks associated with the design, process, product, or service. Assessing risk helps to identify critical failure modes. The higher the RPN, higher the priority that product or process receives. The RPN is calculated by rating each failure in terms of severity, occurrence, and detectability, or SOD, and then multiplying the three values. Each rating category is on a scale of 1 to 10. This means the smallest RPN value would be a 1, and the largest a 1000. Selecting the rating is based on judgment from process experts and the Six Sigma team. However, there are guidelines that help teams select the appropriate ratings. Let's take a closer look at these rating scales. As mentioned earlier, the RPN is calculated by rating each failure in terms of severity, occurrence, and detectability. This table depicts severity as a measure of how critical the failure mode is to the customer or to the process. A high severity rating indicates that a mode is critical to operational safety. The rating cannot be changed. Occurrence is the probability that a specific cause will result in the particular failure mode. Higher occurrence of failure, the higher the rating. Detection is the probability that a particular failure mode will be found. If detection is impossible, the failure is given a rating of 10. At the start of a Six Sigma project, the failure mode is given a relatively high detection rating. The FMEA table helps in planning improvement initiatives by underlining why and how failure modes occur and planning for their prevention. Process step, key process inputs, potential failure mode or what could go wrong, potential failure effects or what are the impacts or results from the failure, severity rating of the failure effect, potential causes or what made the failure happen, occurrence rating of each cause or failure mode, current controls, which are tests, procedures, or mechanisms in place to prevent failures from reaching the customer, detectability rating, or how well current controls detect when something goes wrong, and then the risk priority number, or RPN. This is the product of severity, occurrence, and detectability. Next, let's take a look at the different types of FMEA. The two different types of FMEA are PFMEA and DFMEA. PFMEA stands for Process Failure Modes Effects Analysis, and DFMEA stands for Design Failure Modes Effects Analysis. Let's see how they are different. PFMEA. PFMEA is used on new or existing processes to uncover potential failures. It is done in the quality planning phase to act as an aid during production and involves fabrication, assembly, transactions, or services. The DFMEA. The DFMEA is used in the design of a new product to uncover potential failures, is aimed at identifying failure modes, effects, and reducing them, is done before product is sent to manufacturing, and involves all significant design deficiencies that would be resolved at the end of this process. Now that you know the types of FMEA, let's look at how a FMEA is applied to a situation in an organization. Let's look at how a FMEA is applied to a situation in an organization. We see that for one failure, account debited but cash not paid, there were two potential causes identified: non-availability of cash in the ATM and network issue. Multiplying the severity, occurrence, and detectability ratings provides RPN values of 126, that is 9 times 7 times 2, and 405, that is 9 times 5 times 9, for the cause of non-availability of cash in the ATM and network issues respectively. The higher RPN values will be prioritized for action. Recommended actions such as increasing the replenish or set limit for regularly used ATMs and increase the network limit in this example are identified and implemented. After implementation, a new RPN number is calculated to determine impact. Notice that the RPN value of 126 and 405 are reduced to 38 and 54 respectively, which indicates that improvements have been made. Here are some pointers as you learn to apply FMEA in a situation in your organization. FMEA analysis is a time-consuming process when done correctly, so plan accordingly. Start the FMEA as soon as possible to impact the design before it is finalized. Completing a FMEA requires knowledge of system operations. Complete the design FMEA before drawings are complete. Complete the process FMEA before production plans are final. With this, we have come to the end of this lesson.
recap the key points to this lesson on Design for Six Sigma methodologies. Design for Six Sigma, or DFSS, is an approach that ensures a new product or service meets customer requirements. DMADV or IDOV are two types of DFSS methodologies. DFSS is a process at the Six Sigma level that uses tools such as Quality Function Deployment, or QFD, in Failure Modes Effects Analysis, or the FMEA. QFD is a focused methodology for carefully listening to the customer's needs or voice of the customer. FMEA is an approach for identifying all possible failures in a design, process, product, or service. There are two types of FMEA: the P FMEA for a process FMEA and the D FMEA for design FMEA. The FMEA risk priority number, or RPN, is a measure used to quantify or assess risk associated with a design, process, product, or service.
This concludes Design for Six Sigma, DFSS methodologies. The next lesson is project identification.